This morning I'm going to do something with John Mozeliak to recap all the Cardinal moves. We got Contreras.
And he's going to tell you all about Willson Contreras.
He's not,
correct?
because they haven't. Not? Because it's, well, thank you for killing any clout we might have for that interview. But he hasn't.
I was trying to promote it.
He hasn't done his physical yet. So a deal is not official. It's contingent on him passing the physical. We don't anticipate any problems, but he hadn't had it. So the team is not going to put out a release on them coming to terms with Willson Contreras until he passes. So we'll see what the president of baseball ops will say. As that's going to test my skill as an interviewer, Charlie, to see if I can get him to say something newsy.
Get him.
You could say something like, now, Mo, I know you can't speak in specifics, but if I say, for example, Willson Contreras, what comes to mind for you?
If you were going to sign a catcher, say, to a 5-year deal, what would you say about this imaginary signee? Something like you're right. But so that'll test me. But I think he'll say something. Look, they filled what they saw as their biggest need.
Yep.
So I know it can come back and go, oh, you said they didn't. No, I said they were. That was their priority. I was wrong, if you recall, a couple of weeks back once I did my due diligence. I still think. And I like the signing. Like, he's going to upgrade their catcher in the biggest way you can, right? Murphy from Oakland, maybe better defensively. My guess is there was too much of an ask. So if you're the Cardinals, you got money. Instead of giving up prospects you don't want to part with, or a player that's already on your roster, which apparently the A's were asking for a major leaguer in the mix, you just throw money at it. And then you got your guy, and you got the money. And Contreras is a good pickup. There's no question. My only question about that is he's a righty bat. You know, he's a decent offensive player for a catcher. He's not the big bat that I wanted. So now when they talk about, well, he's a middle-of-the-order guy, the Cardinals don't like to stack righty, so they're going to have to probably come up with another option for that.
Newt. Lars. Dylan Carlson. Maybe you bat Goldie second. You throw Newton at the 3-hole, then you go Arenado, Contreras, Tyler O'Neill, bing, bang, boom, right-handed.
Newt's getting a lot of hype, man. I mean,
Newt?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Newt played really well the second half of the season. I do think he has to prove it over the course of a full year or two. I think that's fair.
I like him at the top of the order. Like, maybe he did some leadoff, maybe number 2, because in the second half, once he found a stroke, he walked an awful lot, and he had pop. So you get a guy who can get on base, but also can do a little damage early on. It's always nice when you get that early home run and you're up 1 or 2-0. But, again, that's my concern. Albert Pujols ain't there, and he was, in my opinion, the best offensive performer in baseball in the second half. And even with that in there and the big 3, there were times where the offense was stop and start. So that's my only question. If I'm being real and taking my rights holder blazer and putting it to the side now. That's my concern. My guess is they realize they need another lefty bat, and we'll see someone brought in. Who it is, I don't know.
And I think we should credit the Cardinals here and Bill DeWitt and John Mozeliak, especially because yesterday at the end of the show, myself included, we were kind of chirping the Cardinals if they didn't want to buck up enough money to sign Jose Quintana, if they were, in fact, interested, and he went to the Mets on a 2-year, $26 million deal. I look at this Contreras deal.
Bargain.
And I promise you, the Cardinals and Mo did not want to go 5 years. I promise you, they did not want to go 5 years. I bet you they didn't want to go 4 years. So for them to extend beyond what I think they thought to get the deal done, the Cardinals don't usually do that. And I think it's a fair deal. And you know what? The last year, if he becomes the backup in year 5 and he DHs the last couple years, that's fine. And the AAV of 17.5, that's pretty dang fair. That's pretty fair when you compare him to Yasmani Grandal and Salvador Perez. It's a good, fair deal, and the Cardinals did what it took to get the deal done. Where I feel like in past years, they probably wouldn't have given the 5th year.
Yeah. Well, think about it. If they know they can get Contreras on a 4-year deal, which to them is extending it, I agree. Maybe they go harder at Quintana. right? But they knew what it would take, and they don't want to tie up too much of their resources with that. Quintana's going to be a steal. If you look at what the Mets did, right, to make up for losing the big boy, they're sitting pretty right now. And Quintana, 2 years at that price, I thought, did I read that right? That for what he did last year with his performance, let's not forget, he was great in the one game when they pitched in the postseason too. I thought definitely 3 years, maybe with the Cardinals because he's comfortable here. They can get him for 2. I didn't see him going elsewhere for 3 years. I mean, for 2 years, and the Mets pulled it off.
Whoa. Between Turner, Judge, and Bogarts, the Padres have offered $1 billion to free agents in the last 3 days, man. They're throwing some coin around, Jackie boy. This chair is extra squeaky today. You hear that?
A little bit.
Well, let's.
God,
that's the least of our worries. Let's self-report here. So we're down a mic, and we have guests coming in. We have we have folks from the Missouri Valley coming in later. So right now we're down a mic. It's still sitting there. We got a squeaky chair, but you know what we have? We have a can-do attitude. Oh, and we're down Nate too.
I know. Nate sets it up and leaves. Like, okay.
We have the want to, though.
We do have the want to.
These 3 important guys are going to share one mic. My chair's squeaky. The AAV is great. You just are going to need Herrera to be ready by year 3 when Contreras becomes a DH fit 75% of the season.
I like Herrera, but I want to be honest about Herrera. I'm not sure he's this big prospect that people are portraying him.
Yeah.
Right? You know, he can be, a major leaguer, serviceable. I just don't think he's going to be a big star. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think he's the guy. And at this point,
who else?
They look at him as a guy, who still needs work defensively, who doesn't project right now. He's still kind of learning the trade. Offensively, doesn't project right now for big numbers.
Who else signed big tickets yesterday, Charlie, around that MLB? Throwing coin.
Bogarts was late at night.
Yeah.
So I think Bogarts kind of closed down the winter meetings. You got to think that, look at the teams that were in on Judge and did not get the deal done. So the Giants.
Yeah.
The Giants need a superstar. They've said that. They wanted Judge because he's from that area. That didn't work. I would think that they pivot to Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa is also being discussed with the Cubs. You've also heard Dansby Swanson with the Cubs. So I would also think the Cubs potentially get that other shortstop maybe that the Giants don't go and get.